Guys, listen to the best wrestling podcast in the UK, Stu's Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time for British Wrestling's sharpshooter, your host, Stu Palmer.
Our guest for episode 66 is the Mercenary Garrisaon Creed, all the way from Wisconsin. Garrison was in the military many years ago. It led to a couple of tours of Iraq. We hear about that. Incredible story. Had to ask him about that aside from the wrestling. We talk about him travelling 1,000 miles for shows. Some weeks he was having 3 or 4 shows and he clocked up the miles. He will take bookings wherever he can. He has wrestled across America and he's looking to go further. I'm sure he'd love to come to the UK. Mr. Creed was a big fan of WCW back in the day. His favourites included Jericho, Chris Benoit, to name but a few. So without further ado, my guest for episode 66 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast is the Mercenary, Mr. Garrisaon Creed from Wisconsin. Enjoy. My guest, all the way from Wisconsin, very early over there at the moment, so I appreciate this. It's Mr. Garrisaon Creed. How are you, man? Pleasure to have you on.
I'm doing great. Just woke up, got myself a fresh cup of mud here, and I'm rip roaring and ready to go.
That's cool. He's fueled. He's ready. This man is ready on Stu's Wrestling Podcast. Garrisaon, how has it been more currently? Normally I get like a career retrospective when you started wrestling, but I'm going to ask current, during the pandemic, how's it been for you personally? I know it differs from person to person, the experiences and stuff. So yeah, just the pandemic for you.
Initially, well, I think it hit everybody the same way. Quick, fast, and sudden, and it sucked. There was a 3-month there of everything just shut down, canceled, and you're left with, your hands free and not knowing what to do. Just so happened I was temporarily sidelined with an injury anyway. Probably the best bet was for me to take some time off and let that heal up. Because normally in my mindset, I don't let things heal up. So I did that. And once things were all ready to go, I started getting on the horn, looking up companies. My normal spot that I'm usually out into was Minnesota, the Twin Cities. Everything there, even right now, is still shut down. They don't look like they're going to be reopening up anytime soon. Wisconsin here is very hit or miss. I don't do too much work in Wisconsin anyway. And back in June when I started getting up again, I was looking at the Chicago area, but that's a tough bubble to burst. So even though I was reaching out, I wasn't working there yet. Outside of one company, Rocket Professional Wrestling. So I started reaching on out. I had a connection down in Oklahoma, Tommy Terry Pantera. He had what he advertised was the first legit show running again in the United States since the pandemic started. So I got on board with that one back in June. And it was a great hit. People were hungry. People wanted wrestling back again. And I was just following suit. I'm taking advantage of everything I got. Real Shoot Wrestling over in West Virginia was doing some YouTube specials. So I took a ride out with a buddy out that way. I had already was reaching out to New Jersey. I had been out to Monster Factory last November, was seeing if I can get back in that way. And then just trying to pick up anything that I could. The biggest hit, which ended up being the biggest one of my favor, was I heard about this huge indie wrestling expo that was being held in Dallas, Texas last August. There was a who's who on there. There was Danny Cage, Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, Rodney Mack, Brian Pillman Jr., Sean Spears. I mean, there was Ring of Honor, AEW, MLW representatives from all over wrestling. Was going to be on this huge 3-day expo, and I had just gotten put in contact with one of the guys that was financing it, who really liked my look. Hey, what would it take for me to get on this show? Well, we're kind of tight on the budget right now, but if you showed up, we'll definitely use you. Bet. And that's why we started doing this, just this random nationwide infiltration thing. where I've just been jumping fences all over the place, jumping into new companies and infiltrating them, showing them that the Mercenary is ready to go.
That's cool, man. It's cool. I like the fact you know there's opportunities all over the US for you. Now, Mr. Creed, when did your career begin? When did you start training wrestling?
About 2016, so not too long ago. Started training late 2015, right here in Wisconsin. There's a little known but very solid training facility in Maribel, Wisconsin. It's a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. It's the same program that guys like Ken Kennedy and Swoggle came out of. The guy that's running it now is Hillbilly Shane Hills. Kind of looks like the bastard child of King Kong Bundy, but with a whole lot more energy. But I went there. He's got a very solid background. Stacy Shadows from Women of Honor was also involved with my training, and another local guy, Brock Burkholder, was in there, just showing me how to really entice a crowd and get them to either love you or hate you. Never really thought anything of making it a whole career. I'm already kind of older into the game, having a military career, college degree, a whole deal ahead of me already. So once I got trained up and started doing local shows, I was expecting maybe once, twice a month. I started putting the war paint back on, pulling out some of my old military gear, and people were liking it. So the phone was going off the hook a little bit more. And now that 2 shows a month is turning into 1 show a weekend, turning into 2 shows a weekend, 3, 4 a weekend. I'm traveling quite a bit, and making money. Hey, why not? Let's launch it. Let's see how far I can go. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm still trying to expand outward and make things happen everywhere. It's an amazing business to be in, and I'm so glad that I am doing it. And it's just you put me in such a better place myself.
That's cool, man. That's cool. How about crafting your moveset early on when you were training? How was that? How tough was training as well? How tough was training? I always like to ask you guys this. People think they can just walk into it and do it.
I've always been kind of athletically gifted already. I also have an extensive martial arts background. Everything from basic karate, some taekwondo, to some combat hapkido, ground-based fighting styles, Gracie style jiu-jitsu, so on and so forth. So I kind of got a lot of fundamentals that way. Now, going back to kind of like where the military kind of interrupted my thought process on professional wrestling, I was big in the Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWE back in the 90s, particularly the mid-card of WCW, where you got guys like Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, all these luchadors from Mexico, Eddie Guerrero, and now I'm jumping into the ring. I'm starting to train. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm about a 215, 220-pound guy. Well, so was Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho. Well, that's the style I got to wrestle at. I got to be able to come off the top rope. I got to be able to do these flips. I got to be able to do head scissors and hurricanranas and stuff like that. So that was my training mentality, and I'm starting to do a lot of that stuff, and I'm getting torn into every day. Why are you doing that? Wrestle your size, wrestle your size, wrestle your size. Well, from 2003 to 2016, when I started training, I didn't watch any wrestling. I was completely out of my element. I missed Ring of Honor. I missed evolution of like Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, things like that. I missed a lot of professional wrestling. So I was missing the point of, hey, wrestle your size. Oh, I got to do more high flying. It didn't click. And then finally I got through training enough, started getting on shows, and I'm the biggest guy in the locker room. I can't exactly moonsault on top of this 150-pound kid. Oh, click, it snaps there. Now I need to learn how to wrestle like a big guy, and I ain't ready for that. So I went back and I almost had to retrain my entire self. Yeah, I'm good with the high flying, but I can't do that all the time. So I had to retrain to learn how to work as a bigger guy now. So it was a whole different move. I had to learn. I got multiple movesets I have to depend on, so to make it all work.
That's cool. That's cooler that you've got an array of movesets. I mean, some guys just work one style, don't they? So I've not heard that much before on previous episodes with the guys. So it's cool to hear. When was your first match, Garrison?
My first match would have been May of 2016, and it was against one of my trainers, Stacy Shadows.
How was it for you, the first match?
Short, sweet, simple. It wasn't bad. It was the one and only time I was doing in training camp. I was doing it like clockwork. Every time I went and tried for it, I was doing split leg moonsaults out of the corner. Again, larger guy doing something like that. And I was landing them consistently all the time at camp, all the time. First match, go to whip it out, and it's the only time that I'm on the top of my head. It's the last time I've tried it in a match live.
Sod's law that you couldn't land it when you needed to do it, like, for purposely for the match.
Yeah. But it was the first experience where you're going out there, and they let you know too. The veterans tell you, hey, slow down. I mean, hell, they still tell me to slow down. I tell myself to slow down. But that first time you're in that ring, I want to do everything. No, slow down. You want to do everything? Do two things. That's all you need to do.
Who's been good for advice in terms of guys you've been able to go to, some of the vets that some of the might know?
Right now, locally for advice, I'll go. I'm going to go ahead and say he's more of a local legend now. He's been around for about 10 years, maybe a little bit more. We have Joey Avalon. He's definitely well established. He should be at a bigger stage somewhere. But he's the guy that I'll come across with, like, hey, I got some crazy ideas. I'll throw him by him, see what he thinks. And another huge influence and a person who kind of shined me up, finalized my training. Well, further on my training, can't say finalized, we've never done training. Was Tony Kazina. I've done multiple tours up in Canada for Canadian Wrestling's Elite, and was always traveling with Tony Kazina, who's now the head trainer of Fale Dojo over in New Zealand. He's doing a great job over there, and he's training the next generation of New Japan Pro guys, having a high amount of them go right into the Young Lions program over there. So it's great just to have that experience that he touched up on me. But it'll be regularly that I'll just reach out to him, ask him something. He goes off like an angry dwarf that he is, and lets me know what he thinks.
Scooting forward then, where have been some of your favourite places to work? Because I know you've had bookings far and wide. Where have you really enjoyed working? What's been satisfying for you? Events that you've had
on the road, anywhere. I mean, I've had a big variety of stages now. Like I said, I've been over at Monster Factory. I've been in a warehouse for real shooting video. I've been down now in Chicago. I've been down to a couple of places down there. Rocket Pro's always got a great fan base. Now that I've gone down to Dallas for not only just the Indie Wrestling Expo, where they had some pretty hardcore fans down there. I was also down there for a Christian Wrestling Federation, where they have a really close-knit family down there too, which they I definitely had that feeling that I blew the roof off the place just at my entrance alone, and they really expected some really good things out of me, and I felt like I delivered afterwards, and they made sure to make it feel like that I did. Bottom line, there isn't just one place that I like to be. The road is where I like to be. I like to be, traveling to all these little towns all throughout Canada, whether, I'm in Red Deer or I'm actually going into a bigger stage like in Winnipeg. I just love traveling around. I love seeing the folks all over the place. And also knowing that you're creating new fans. Oh, hey, I'm debuting in Podunk, Egypt this weekend. I don't know, someplace I've never been. But hey, you know what? I'm gonna go out there and even just turn it up just a little bit more, because now I'm not trying to make that one or two more fans or three more fans at that show that I've been at for 8-9 times already. I'm going to a whole new crowd. All right, I definitely need to get invited back. Let's make it happen. So really, long story short, I just love being on the road, period, and being out in front of people.
That's nice to hear that, you hear about the rigors of the road for you guys and the hours on the road, but it's nice to hear. It's quite nice to hear that you don't mind that. It's all part of the experience.
Oh yeah, and I know you were talking about. You were just talking the other day how you have a lot of companies over there in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
How they're kind of closely knit together. Here I go, like say I got a three show loop on a weekend. I got to hit maybe 2 towns in Minnesota and one in Iowa, or 2 shows here in Wisconsin and another in Minnesota, or maybe I got to do that crazy loop in Minnesota down to Chicago. I'm averaging about 1,000 miles on my car a weekend.
Wow.
And that's sometimes on the low end. Like what would it be in the UK?
It wouldn't be that. Yeah, I don't know, about maybe 400 miles maybe on a loop. Say if you had 3 or 4 shows, maybe I should imagine. But probably half.
That'd be an easy weekend. That'd be a lot of time to get some bed rest.
That's me guesstimating, Garrison. That's me guesstimating now. I'd say half the amount, But yeah, man, that's cool to hear that you like the travel side, because I know some guys, they find the traveling side tough, don't they?
It is kind of the pain. I mean, I get a lot of people ask me what's the injury that you got that kind of really bugs you a lot, and I'm like, oh, it's this lower back pain from sitting in a van seat for so many hours. And they're like, that's the biggest nagging injury you got from pro wrestling? Yeah, it's the car rides.
Doesn't make sense. Surely it's when you get in that ring.
Oh, I get in that ring, I take that first bump, or I get to take that first body slam or suplex, and I'm good to go. I'm golden.
Yeah, you're ready to rock, man. Also, I'd like to
lines
talk
everything
to you
up.
Can I talk to you about the etiquette side of it? Shows, backstage with talent, with some of the veterans. Just what are your tips to guys in terms of etiquette and being, respectful?
Yeah, I mean, well, main things there is be respectful. I mean, that guy that's been in the business longer than you, he's taking up his bump card a bit. He's taken his beatings inside that ring, and he's helped set up that ring and tore it down way more times than you. So go on up there, show your respect, say nice to meet you, shake their hand. And I know there's kind of this movement now to do this little limp handshake thing. No. Okay. I'm an old military guy still. Yeah, I get a nice firm grip, firm handshake. Hey, we're here in an arena that emphasizes a combat sport. I'm going to show you that I am, ballsy enough to be in here. We're not going to say man, because we have plenty of women in the locker rooms too. Ballsy enough to be in here. I'm going to give you a nice firm handshake. Know that I'm here. I'm professional. I'm here to do business. And let's do some business. But yeah, when you're talking to veterans, definitely. Even if they're just local veterans, ears open, mouth shut. Consider everything that you hear. Don't necessarily have to use everything, but take everything in, put it in the little banks back here, bring them up later. Hey, maybe it doesn't make sense now. It might make sense 2 or 3 weeks down the road. Maybe it makes sense 2 years down the road. But take everything on in, process it, and use it. And if you got somebody that takes the time out, whether you ask them or not, and they take the time out after your match, pull you aside and give you some pointers, again, put them in there, consider them. Just be respectful for everybody that's in the locker room. I mean, you are doing business. Consider it anytime that you're doing business with any sort of thing. You don't want to have to go into the office with some crabby coworkers. Treat them all with respect. You get out of the place at the end of the day and you share a beer.
Also, your tips for guys wanting to start learning, training wrestling. I'd like to just segue into that a little bit. You'll have good advice for these young guys, man.
Embrace the suck. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna get your ass handed to you. You're gonna be sore. You're gonna use muscles that you haven't used before. You're gonna take a beating in a level of that you probably, more likely than not, unless you've actually been in some sort of combat MMA type sport, never have taken before. You want to learn techniques. Now, Marley, not the best way to do this, but if you're going to go and sell a punch in the ring, go out, aggravate that guy at the bar, put your hands down, let them sock you in the chin. Now you're going to know how to actually sell a punch. I think we got too many guys in this business that have never actually had any physical contact with anybody in such a way. They don't know how an actual punch feels. There you go. You're going to feel it real quick. Take that gut shot. Know how it feels to have that bottom rib bruise for a while. When you go on in there, hey, now you just got kicked in the ribs. Oh shit, I got to be selling this for a long time. That's going to hurt like a lot. Stay on top of your game physically. Eat right. Keep your nose clean. Stay out of trouble. You don't want to bring bad publicity to the business. But just put yourself in a position that anytime that you show up, that you have that gift of being on a show up to work, because that's what's going to help you best. That's what's going to bring you back, and that's what's going to bring in more fans, more asses in seats.
That's cool, man. That's good advice. I've never took a punch, but then again, I've not wanted to get in the ring. But you got to be prepared. I like that. I liked your answer to that, because
it's not for everybody.
No.
There's a lot of people that do want to get into the ring, and sadly, sometimes you just have to accept that, hey, maybe this isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some sort of talent relations or ring announcing, or maybe even refereeing is more of a thing for somebody who really wants to be in the sport. But sometimes just being in the ring just isn't it. But there are so many niches in this business. You can find some way for you to make it work. You just got to find it out. For
the few, not the many. That's what I'd say. That's right. That's what I'd put.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely, man. Garrison, I think it'd only be fitting to talk about your military career, because I know off camera you told me you served in Iraq. So I think because you served for your country, I know it's a huge thing, especially over here in Britain as well, for British guys who've been in the army, our servicemen and women. Incredible. How was your time in Iraq?
I was there. I did a stint in 2004 to 2005, and then again, the latter part of 2006 and all of 2007. The first deployment there was probably, in the best way to describe it, cowboys and Indians. We saw contact damn near every day. Very mind-boggling, gets in your head a lot. You don't know when your time's going to come. I'll be the first one to admit I probably lost a couple of screws while I was there. Being involved in all the stuff that I was involved with, whether it was movement to contact missions or hearts and minds missions, where you're actually trying to work with the communities and stuff to rebuild and get some money and economics going on through the system. Being infantry, you're kind of on the front lines of all that, whether you're doing simple security missions or you're doing the down and dirty and kicking in doors and finding the bad guys. To kind of back up too there, helping, you mentioned like service to my country and all that. Some people would say it's in a humble sort of way. I've never looked at myself as really a patriot or somebody serving my country.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those, I got out of high school, I signed a piece of paper to go and do a job.
Mm-hmm. And
that's how I've always looked at my military career, is I went over there to do what my superiors told me to do. I was doing a job. And it kind of segues into what I'm doing now, kind of with the whole mercenary moniker. It's legitimately the way I looked at my military service. I was just a soldier for hire doing my thing. Luckily, I was never in any compromised moral or ethical situations where I was just doing my job straightforward. But yeah, I came across a lot of different experiences in my deployments. Sadly, lost a fair amount of friends. Ones that I've trained with, ones that I made in Iraq, because we did work closely with Iraqi National Guard as well, where we had some hiccups there. But I mean, definitely different experiences. I've been exposed to a lot of roadside bombs, been hit by 2 suicide car bombers personally. Luckily, no Purple Hearts out of the whole deals, but it was damn near close enough that it should have happened. Did take my hearing out of my left ear right here, so I do got a lot of issues with that. But I think overall, my military experiences, it brought me up and made me the person I am today.
Mm-hmm.
it manned me up. It steeled me. It hardened me up as a man. Put me in those different situations. Instilled a serious discipline, a self-discipline in my stuff. So that way, even when I had that gap between 2008 and 2016 when I got into wrestling, I was still maintaining going to the gym, eating a healthy diet, being ready for anything that life could bring at me. And then, when the professional wrestling opportunity came on up, it was like, oh, okay, now I just need to tweak it this little much to get into this athletic behavior, and I should be good to go. And even today now, like I get back from a 3-4 day road trip loop, a couple of shows, and I get home and I gotta unpack. I have dirty gear. I need to get some sleep, and the sleep waits until my gear is clean. And then I pack up my gear ready to go again. Maybe I got to put the boots out to dry, but I clean my gear before I lay my head down and get some sleep when I get back home. Instilled from the military. Make sure your gear is ready to go for the next mission.
That's cool, man. Thank you for that insight. And I know that's personal to you. Thank you for sharing that, man. I appreciate
it. Doesn't get asked too much, and I'm not afraid to hide it.
Yeah, it's just I felt I had to ask you about the military side, man. Do you know what I mean? I know it's a wrestling program, wrestling podcast, but thank you, man. Thank you for that.
Hey, no problems, my man.
Thank you so much. Garrison, I'm now going to ask you some of your favourite matches when you were a fan of wrestling. Maybe your top three. I know it's hard. I struggle with three.
The confrontation between Chris Benoit and Bret Hart in WCW. I really enjoyed a lot of the ground-based technical wrestling and the hard-hitting action. Like Chris Benoit just had that mix of crisp technical skill with that, all right, you push that button, I'm going to chop the hell out of you now. That viciousness that he was able to open up with. I love that combination in that guy. And Bret Hart was just so damn good and smooth at everything he did. So that was just a technical masterpiece watching that. I can't think of the date right off the top of my head. I think it was a Nitro even. So that's up there. And then two of them that really stand out at two different points in his career even, were Rey Mysterio matches. One being, and it just came up. A lot of people were all excited about it. Was Halloween Havoc '97, Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero. I watched that as a fan to this day. There's no way I'll ever be able to do anything in that match. So I can't watch it, critique it, pick it apart, and to possibly use any of it now. That's just me fanboying out watching how they did that match. And then even go back even further, another Rey Mysterio match back from ECW. I think it was his and Psychosis ECW debut. Psychosis was done up in his white garb. I think Rey Mysterio maybe had a Spider-Man type gear on. But I'm just seeing these two guys just flying all over the place. And then the finish was Psychosis going for almost like a razor's edge or a crucifix powerbomb off the top, and Rey Mysterio catching him with a package Rana off the top rope, landing in the middle of the ring, going, "Holy shit, amazing!" Who the hell does this? So those are the ones that kind of stand out in my head. That I still go back to this day, even watch, just to kind of reminisce, to still have not to pick them apart as a worker now, but to remember, hey, we're doing this for the fans, and that's my way of being that fan again, watching those matches.
Who would you like to get into the ring with, past, present, future? Who's on that list for you personally?
Past, present, future. I really highly respected and looked up everything that Raven did back in the day. His ECW run, WCW run, the hardcore stuff he did in WWE. He was just great at getting into people's minds, and by not doing anything, having a story with him would be awesome. Just getting a chance to be in the ring with him now, even though he's got got physical limitations now. being in the ring with guys like Dean Malenko, trying to do that technical style. Like, it's not my bread and butter. I can do it. I can keep up. But just seeing that style and how smooth it was back in the day would be great to be able to do and get into. Hell, Rey Mysterio's Rip Rowan ready to go. I'd love to get in there with him, even though I don't know if I could do that much flying around. But kind of bringing it forward to see who's on the scene now that I would definitely relish the opportunity to get into. Brian Pillman Jr. I think we could tear it up. Warhorse. He's a great physical competitor right now. Logan Creed. There's a namesake right there. I've had some great matches with some very large individuals, and I think we could definitely tear down the barn if you throw both Creeds in the same ring or in the same arena even. Just to name a few guys right there.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Garrison, where can the listeners and viewers find you in terms of social media? That's just to close out.
I am all on. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look up Garrisaon Creed, just the way it's spelled, or just the way it sounds. Garrisaon Creed. You'll find me on all three of those platforms. I also have T-shirts available at prowrestlingtees.com/Garrisaon Creed.
That's cool, man. My guest, all the way from Wisconsin. Thank you for coming on so early over there as well. It's barely
no problem. Man, it's been a pleasure.
Barely daybreak, and Mr. Garrisaon Creed is on with us. Ex-military man, and most importantly now, wrestler getting booked far and wide. It's Mr. Garrisaon Creed. Thank you very much for coming on Stu's Wrestling Podcast today.
Hey, thank you very much, my man.
This episode is brought to you in association with Powered 4 TV, so go and check them out for anything wrestling related, old events, new events when we come out of COVID, podcasts, you name it, it's all there at Powered 4 TV, so find them across social media.
I knew there was something up, and I could tell there was something wrong. From the moment that we met, your intention was a friend, you were stringing me on.